You can take your Bibles and turn to the book of Ruth. We're continuing our preaching through the book of Ruth, and we're up to chapter 4 this week, so we're getting close to the end. And last week we brought a message entitled Redeeming Love, and we talked about some characteristics that we see in redeeming love. And we said that Boaz truly loved Ruth, that he was falling in love with her, and he was truly loving her. And a real love is a redeeming love. And we all are going to need, at some point in our life, redemption. We all need redemption if we ever want to get to glory one day. Amen? Amen. Jesus came as our Redeemer. But even as Christians, we make mistakes, we make bad choices, we do bad things in relationships, and we hurt those that we love, and we hurt our own reputation and our own walk with God. And we need brothers and sisters and husbands and wives and children that will come to us in redeeming love and come to us and interact with us in a certain way that even in those darkest moments, they redeem those situations. They redeem that broken relationship. They redeem those broken dreams. And that's what Boaz is doing for Ruth. He's stepping into her situation, her and Naomi both, who are desperately needing to be provided for. And Boaz steps in redeeming love and redeems their situation. It is a blessing to them both. And that's a little bit of a picture of what Jesus Christ did for us as our kinsman redeemer. How that he came down into this world and stepped into our dark world of sin and self, and he stepped in as our Redeemer and shed his precious blood for us. And we said that really at the heart of the book of Ruth, for me, it is a love story. And it is a love story, but it's a love story of redeeming love. And the story between Boaz and Ruth is surely beautiful, and we spent a couple of weeks talking about it. And we're going to talk about it a little bit more even today. But the greatest redeeming love that I see in the book of Ruth is really how that God reached out to a woman in Moab named Ruth, and with redeeming love redeemed her into his family, bringing her into the promised land and even into the lineage of his dear son, Jesus Christ. Now that's the ultimate love story of redeeming love. But this week I want us to look in Ruth chapter 4, and I want us to read verses 1 through 10, and I want us to think on the thought of a real man. A real man. Well, we know what a real man looks like if we were to see in our world today. Well, let's take a look at a real man in Scripture. Ruth chapter 4, verse 1. Now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down there, and behold, the close relative of whom Boaz had spoken came by. So Boaz said, "Come aside, friend, sit down here." So he came aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city and said, "Sit down here." So they sat down. Then he said to the close relative, "Naomi, who has come back from the country of Moab, sold the piece of land which belonged to our brother Elimelech. And I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back, in the presence of the inhabitants of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, then redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you." And he said, "I will redeem it." Then Boaz said, "On the day you buy the field from the hand of Naomi, you must also buy it from Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance." And the close relative said, "I cannot redeem it for myself, lest I ruin my own inheritance. You redeem my right of redemption for yourself, for I cannot redeem it." I think those were probably the sweetest words Boaz ever heard. That's what he was wanting, folks. Now this was the custom of the former times in Israel concerning redeeming and exchanging. To confirm anything, one man must take off his sandal and give it to the other, and this was a confirmation in Israel. Therefore the close relative said to Boaz, "Buy it for yourself." So he took off his sandal, and Boaz said to the elders and all the people, "You are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilhan's and Milhan's from the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Milhan, I have acquired as my wife." to perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren and from his position at the gate. You are witnesses this day. And all the people who were at the gate, and the elders said, we are witnesses. And the Lord make the woman who is coming to your house like Rachel and Leah, that the two who built the house of Israel, that you may prosper in Ephraim and be famous in Bethlehem. What is he talking about here? What are we talking about here? A real man. What does a real man look like? I mean, what does it mean to be a real man? If we ask this question in America today, what are some of the answers we might get? Where would we look to for a role model for what we would consider to be a real man?
Hollywood.
There you go. Many people say, oh, well, we'll just look to Hollywood. I mean, after all, isn't George Clooney just a real man? You know, Tom Hanks, isn't that just a real man? And I'm sure they are wonderful men. I'm not saying that. But we would look to actors in Hollywood. Or we might look to sports figures. Famous football players or basketball players or baseball players. We might look to politicians, government leaders, presidents, senators. We might look at all these places and say, this is what a real man looks like. The problem is, what are we going to find for examples from all those sectors? Now, I'm not saying we won't find maybe some good men. Maybe even find some men that we would consider to be real men and good men. I'm sure we can. But I'm sure it's a lot easier to find lots of men who are not really good examples. I mean, you can just turn on your TV now and look at what's happening in the NFL. One player after another, caught in one scandal after another, doing one bad thing after another. And it's no different. It's been that way in the NBA. It's been that way in baseball with steroid abuse. And actors and politicians. Oh my goodness, how many politicians set a great example? You say, well, if we can't look to our political leaders, we can't look to Hollywood and actors, we can't look to sports figures, where are we supposed to look to find real men?
Preachers.
Well, let's be honest about that. He brought up a good point. He said preachers. How often we read about the fall of ministers in the gospel, making horrible decisions, destroying their family and their ministries. You say, preacher, this doesn't sound good. If I can't look to the preacher to find a real man, well, we can look to God's Word, can't we?
Amen.
And this morning, we can look to Boaz. You see, in this passage of Scripture, Boaz shows us what it is to be a real man. To be a real man, first of all, takes character. To be a real man takes character. You must be honest. Did you see that in verse 4? It says, and I thought to inform you, saying, buy it back. What is he saying here? Here, we talked about last week, we had talked about that Boaz by now is falling madly in love with Ruth. He has noticed who she is. He has noticed her beauty on the outside. He has noticed her beauty on the inside. He has spent quite a bit of time investing into her life and building a relationship with her. And she has come to him, and she has chosen him to be her kinsman redeemer, which was like his dream come true. He would have thought, this could never happen to me. I'm older than she is. Women don't see me that way. This kind of thing doesn't happen for me. And yet she chose him instead of some younger man or some other man. She came to him. And that was great news, except there's a kinsman that's closer. And we said last week, if you're going to hope to get a woman of integrity, you need to be a man of integrity. Amen. That's how it works. And so here we see that he's come to this place, and he is demonstrating for us that a real man is a man of character. He's honest. So he comes to the gate, and he's sitting here, and the close relative comes by, the nearer kinsman, who is nearer than Boaz, the man who could take away all of Boaz's dreams, The man that could take away this precious, beautiful creature called Ruth that he is falling madly in love with, and all of that could be taken away. This man has a right to take all of that if he so chooses. And what does Boaz do? Well, Boaz is a man of character, so he's honest. And he says, I thought to inform you. By the way, you may not know, you may not have heard, you may not have noticed. I'm here to tell you, you have an opportunity. And what he's literally saying is you have an opportunity to take something that is so precious and so awesome and have it for yourself. And by the way, you will be taking something that I have set my own heart on and desperately want. I think that's exactly what's going on here. What is he saying? I got to be honest about this thing. A man of character is honest. I asked you earlier, where should we look for our role models? Where are we going to find real men? You want to know the answer to that question? In our homes. Wives, you need to look to your husband. Dads, your children are looking to you. You are that real man. You are that role model. That's where we need to be looking. Not Hollywood, not politics, not at the neighbor, but in our own homes with the husbands and the fathers that God has given us. Now, do you have character, dads? Are you really, really honest? And it took an honest man to go out there and find the other kinsman redeemer who was nearer than he was and be honest with him and say, you have first crack at her. Here is your opportunity. Here is the proper property you can redeem and have for your own to carry on the name, and here is this lovely woman. That took an honest man. Oh my goodness, didn't it take it? I'm kind of thinking of back when I used to have one of my crazy cars. One of the cars along the way, I had the Boss 302. Some of you remember that, and I had quite a quagmire with that, because that car stayed in the shop more than it stayed on the road. It was a brand new car. It was broken down. It spent 2 months in the shop. Well, I got tired of fixing it. A brand new car is not supposed to be broken down all the time. Well, I got a quandary. I need to sell it. I don't want it anymore. How do you sell a car that's been broken down so many times? Think about it. How do you sell a car like that and still be a man of character and have some honesty? It ain't easy. And we talked about it a couple times on Wednesday night, and I talked to those who were there, and we prayed about it. Here's all the things that's gone wrong, but, I don't want to keep it. It's not dependable for me. So the only thing I could do was take it back to the dealer, and they fixed it another time. Of course, they had told me 6 or 7 other times it was fixed, and it never was. But they finally fixed it the last time, and they said it was great. And so what did I do? I brought a stack of paper this thick and gave to the future buyer and said, here's all the times it's been in the shop. This is how many times they promised me they fixed it and they didn't. Now they claim they fixed it again. I said, so basically you're taking a chance. They may have finally fixed it now, or they may not have, because they've promised before. I got to be honest with you. Here's the car you're buying. And I discounted it tremendously because of that, even though it was practically a brand new car. Praise God, the person I sold it to happened to be another believer too, and I've seen him 2 times since, and it's been perfect for him. So the final time, they finally fixed it. But I could have just ignored all that, couldn't I? I could have said, this is a new car, it's under warranty, and just got top dollar. But that's not what you do if you're going to have character and be honest. I think of Joe, I want to pick on him because he's here. But I got to tell you something, if you not had the time to talk to Joe sometimes about his business, the company he runs, I got to tell you, it blesses my heart to talk to him about that. You want to talk about a man with character in the way he runs his business, and honest. He's always honest. He's honest with his customers. He treats them right. There's character there. See, that's what Boaz had here. He was a real man, has character. He's honest. If you're going to have character, you need to be honest, but you also need to be honorable. Do you see that in verse 4 too? Not only was he honest and told the guy, he says, and I thought to inform you. In other words, I want to let you know what opportunity you have here. Just like I did with the car. I'm going to let you know the difficulties I've had here. You see, honesty doesn't... What is a lie? A half-truth is a whole lie, folks. Honesty is giving all the information. You can be dishonest by leaving information out. You understand what I'm trying to say? And Boaz saying, I'm not going to leave anything out here. I'm going to go look and find that guy who has first right to this situation. I'm going to find that guy who could take away everything I hope and dream for, and I'm going to be honest with him and tell him exactly what's available to him, because that's what honest men do. That's also what honorable men do. And in verse 4 it also says, he said to him, buy it back in the presence of the inhabitants and the elders of my people, and if you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know. For there is no one but you to redeem it, and I am next after you. What is he saying? In other words, there's nobody but me or you. You get first choice. You don't want her, I do. That's what he's saying. If you don't want the property, I do. If you don't want to redeem it, I do. But you get first choice. You say, wait a minute. This fella hadn't been taking care of Ruth for weeks. This fella didn't give her all the grain day after day to take home to her mother-in-law. This fella hasn't invested and fallen in love and doesn't know the character. I know all that. Boaz knew all that. But the honorable thing to do was to know your place. You see, a man of honor, a man of character has honor. And if you have honor, what does honor mean? Honor means a real man knows his place and the place of others. And what Boaz was saying is, it's not my place to be first in line in this situation. It's my place to be second in line and to defer to someone else. And he's honoring that other man by doing that. He's saying, I'm a man of honor, and you have first choice here, because that's what the law requires. It's what the law says. I am next to you. It wouldn't be honorable for me to leave you out of the loop. It wouldn't be honorable for me to not even tell you about what's available to you and say, well, he hadn't found that up to now. He could have found out just like me. He hasn't. He hasn't done his homework. That's his loss, not mine. You know, you snooze, you lose. You know, I got here first. She's mine. The property's mine. What kind of an honorable man would do that? What happens later on when this other relative finds out that you could have had that property? You were the nearest kinsman, and Boaz knew it. He just chose to leave that out and not let you know. Is that honest? Is that honorable? No. A real man has character. He's honest, and he's honorable, and he honors others by knowing his place in every situation and not promoting himself above others, and being willing to be a servant, and being willing to step aside, being willing to put others above himself, and to honor them when the situation calls for it, and to put them in the place of honor. That's what it means to be honorable in many ways. It means that in a situation, if someone else deserves honor here, you give it to them. You honor them by coming to them and saying, it's your choice. You're first in line. That's what Boaz did. Dads, is that what we model for our boys and our daughters? Is that what we model for our wife? Are we truly honorable men? Do we know our place in the home and in our family and in our church and at the workplace and in society? Do we honor others by allowing them sometimes to be at the head of the line? Are we men of honor? Do we really have character? Boaz is showing us that a real man has character. He must be honest. He must be honorable. But he also must be committed. First of all, committed to lead. Did you see that in verse 4 again? Just look at this, and he says, and I thought to inform you. Also look that there in his commitment to lead in verse 1. It says, now Boaz went up to the gate. What did he go up to the gate for? What's going on here? And you can also look even in verse 18 of chapter 3 when it says, for the man will not rest until he has concluded the matter this day. What is all this saying? A real man is committed to lead. What is Boaz doing here? He has become a leader in this situation. Ruth has come to him and says, I have chosen you to be my kinsman redeemer. I want you to take care of me. I want to come under your wing for protection. I want to come into your home, and I want to live with you, and I want you to redeem me and be with me and step into my situation and bring redemption and redeem me out of this situation. I choose you. And that has just blessed Boaz's heart, because he'd already set his heart on her a long time before that. And this is the best news he'd ever heard. But now he's in a situation. There's someone else who's ahead of him in the line. And a man of character has to deal with that. So what does he do? He takes a hold to the situation. And remember, it says earlier, it says Naomi told Ruth, says, you go to Boaz, you make known to him what your heart says, and he will take care of it. He will tell you what to do. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what Naomi said. How could she say that? Because she knew that Boaz was a natural leader, that he wouldn't leave it undone. And what did she say later? This day won't be over until this matter's concluded. He won't leave you hanging. He won't just sit out there and do nothing. He won't sit back and say, I wonder what I'm supposed to do. No, he will step up, be a real man, take a leadership role, and make things happen. That's what he'll do. And that's exactly what he did. We see it in verse 1. It says, now Boaz went up to the gate and sat down. Why? Because the gate is the courthouse. In their time, that's where they conducted their business. That's where they made business transactions. If they had a difficulty, you'd bring them to the gate. There would be a group of the elders there and the older men there, and they would sit there kind of like the court, and they would do business. And so he went and he brought all these other fellows around and said, okay, everybody sit down. We got some business to conduct. He took the bull by the horns. He's showing leadership. He is saying we have a situation here, and we need to deal with it. We need to make it right and come to a decision. Because people's lives are in the balance. And by the way, his was one of them. That's what real men do. They don't sit around doing nothing. Real men get up off the couch and get the job done. Real men are leaders in their home. They are committed. Real men are committed to being leaders. Now, I'm not saying a dictator. A dictator, by the way, is not a leader. I'm just telling you. How many folks, if the dictator wasn't a dictator, would follow him? None of them. The dictator gets people to follow by forcing them. That's not leadership. They always told me a long time ago, if you're leading somewhere and no one's a following, guess what? You're not leading. If you're really leading, people will follow you and you inspire them to follow. That's what a godly man does, who is committed to leadership. He's not a dictator. And Boaz wasn't being a dictator here. He was lovingly doing what Ruth had come to him to do. Ruth said, I come to you to come under your wing for refuge. I'm counting on you to help me put my life back together, to get me in a good place. I'm choosing you. I'm trusting you with my future. And Boaz couldn't have done a better job. Because instead of just saying, okay, your future's with me, and not being a man of integrity, and not having character, and not being honest and honorable, he was honest enough and honorable enough to say, I hear you, Ruth, I know what you need, and I'm going to make it happen. And I'm going to take leadership in this, but we're going to do it right. We're going to do it God's way. Now that is a leader. Dads, are you committed to being that kind of leader in your home? Husbands, are you committed to being that kind of leader in your home? Men, are you committed to being that kind of leader in your workplace and in the church and with your friends and your neighbors? Are you committed to lead when it's so easy to just sit back and let somebody else make the decision? So many of our homes, the spiritual leader is supposed to be the man. That's God's design. But instead, it's the wife. In many homes, the dad won't even go to church. Or the wife takes the kids to Sunday school, or the wife takes kids to church. That's the woman's thing. I'll go at Christmas and Easter. Where are our spiritual leaders? My dad told me a long time ago when I was a little boy, I don't send my kids to church, I take my kids to church. That's a leader. That's a leader. That's someone who's committed to being a leader. Real men are committed to lead, but they're also committed to love. Do you see that in verse 10? It's just beautiful there in verse 10. It says, moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Milcah, I have acquired as my wife. What is he saying? You're my witnesses. We're all here to do business, and I want you to know something. She's mine. I'm here to state it before witnesses. Isn't that what marriage is all about anyway? Isn't it interesting today that they just came out with a new research that now that there are more people who aren't married than are married in America today for the first time in our history. And those who are getting married in what we call traditional marriage, the numbers are falling. And so many people are just living together and they're not married. This whole idea of the institution of marriage and making a commitment to another person before your church family, before the world, before witnesses. Oh, I don't need that. I don't need that piece of paper to be committed to someone. And they have no clue. Marriage is not a contract, it's a covenant. And it's a covenant that's made before witnesses. And that's exactly what Boaz is doing. What Boaz is saying is, I'm not interested in a live-in housekeeper. I'm not interested in a domestic partner or whatever you want to call it. I'm not even looking for a partner in life. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, I'm looking to be a husband. I'm looking for a wife. I'm looking for a soulmate. I'm looking for someone to share my life with. I think Boaz would have understood this. I say quite often, Heidi is not my partner. She's not my partner. Heidi is the best part of me. Let me say that again. Heidi is my wife. Don't misunderstand me. But she's not my partner. She's the best part of me. Do you get the difference? The two become one. And we're one. And the best part of me is sitting there. Y'all say amen to that because you know me. Amen. That's marriage. That's what Boaz wants. He's not interested in just someone moving in for a while. He's not interested in playing house. He wants to build a home. And what he's saying here is, I am committed to love this woman. You guys are my witness. This woman has just been acquired as my wife. And he knew exactly what that meant. He said, I want to be married to her. I want to be committed to her. Because love is willing to commit. Amen. Men, are we committed to love our wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it? Are we committed to love our children the way God would call us to? Real men are committed to love. And when a real man says, I am committed to love a woman, he understands that the next part of the equation is, that means I am really committed to her the way God says I'm supposed to be committed to her. And that means I'm willing to marry her and be committed to her for life, for better, for worse, through thick and thin. That's what a real man does. You don't just move in. The world today has no clue about that, does it? So many folks say, well, we're just going to be together and try it out and see how it works. You can say that's commitment all you want, but it's not. Real commitment is committed for the distance. Listen to me. Real men understand they need commitment. Commitment to lead. Commitment to love. But also real men, they need courage. You see, you can be committed all you want, and you can have character, but if you're going to implement your character and your commitment, you're going to have courage to do that. Amen? Amen. Now, the men said, now you're finally getting to the good part, because men want to be the hero, okay? We think of a real man, we think of courage. We think of the toughest guy on the block. We think of the guy on the battlefield that whoops everybody else. Now, that's a real man. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place for that. I am grateful that there have been real men on the battlefield and women in the history of our country who have fought for our freedom. And there's a time and place for that. And I want a real man to stand up and protect his family if an intruder breaks into their home. There's a time and place for that kind of strength. There's a time and place for that kind of courage. And that's part of the package. But that's not really what I'm talking about here. Real men, that's not what Boaz shows us here. Real men have courage. The courage, first of all, to provide. Verse 9, what did it say? I have bought. You guys are witnesses here. In verse 9, and Boaz said to the elders and all the people, he's doing his business right out in the open. He wants witnesses. He wants this thing to be legal and binding. That's why we take our sandal off. That's why we make sure this is a done deal. And nobody can take this precious woman from me. No one can take this property from me. That's what he's doing. And he goes right here and says, you are witnesses this day that I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilhan's and Nilhan's from the hand of Naomi. What is he saying? I'm going to provide. I'm going to provide. Who is he providing for? Well, he's providing for this family. He's using this law, and he's using this Levirate marriage law that they have to make sure the name of Elimelech, the name of this family, will not be lost in the gate by taking and redeeming their property and the things they hold dear and reaching out to Ruth. What is he saying? Here's what he's doing. He's making an investment, folks. He's willing to provide. He's saying, this is going to cost me something. I got some skin in the game. I'm going to have to reach into my pocket. I'm going to have to reach into my resources and say, I believe in Ruth. I believe in our future. And I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I'm willing to put my resources where my mouth is. I'm willing to say that you don't get something for nothing. And I'm investing all that I have into this situation because I'm going to provide. That's what he's saying. He's saying, I have enough courage to be all in when it comes to this. What do we do in America today? We say, wait a minute, preacher. I've worked hard for what I've got, and I've got a little bit. And just because I met some little lady who wants to get married to me and I want to get married to her, I don't want her to have a chance to take away everything I ever built and earn and have. Nothing better than a prenup. Contrast that with here. Boaz is saying, I'm going to pay off her debts. I'm going to pay off everything that her family has lost. I'm going to provide for her. I'm going to invest in her and invest in us. I've got skin in the game. I'm not worried about protecting my assets. I'm going to use my assets to provide for her and her family, to keep her name going in the memory of her dead husband and of her family, and to keep the land inside the family so they don't lose it, and so the family's name doesn't go out of the gate here. So when people gather around the gate to hold court, they remember this family because someone has carried that name on. Is that not just the opposite of what the world does today? A real man has courage to be a provider. Men, are you ready to provide for your family? I can't tell you how much in the counseling situation I meet with marriages that are falling apart. And quite often you have a man that is sitting there unwilling to provide for his family. And it's ripping the heart out of his wife. He's not willing to even do his part. I see it over and over again. Not willing to invest his time, his effort to provide for his family. A real man has the courage to say, I will provide for you, and I expect it to cost me something. I know it's going to cost me, and it may cost me some of my dreams and some of the things I want to do, because now I'm a husband, and someday I'll be a father, and so maybe I have to set some of that aside and have a new dream and put someone else above myself. That's what real men do. They have courage to provide, but they also have courage to protect. Verses 9 and 10 talk about that. And Boaz said to the elders and all his people, you are witnesses this day that I have bought all those Elimelechs. And then he talks about Chilhan and Milhan, and that all that was theirs, and Naomi, and from the hand of Naomi. And then he says, moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the widow of Milhan, I have acquired as my wife. Why? To perpetuate the name of the dead through his inheritance, that the name of the dead may not be cut off from among his brethren, and from his position at the gate. You are witnesses this day. In other words, I'm honoring this family. I'm taking care of this family. I'm helping their name to be known. What is he saying? A real man has the courage to protect the family name and the assets. And I said, how do we apply this in a modern setting? A real man, I think, would make sure that his wife, make sure that she and her family are not forgotten. That's one way we can do it in modern concepts. A real man honors his wife and her family, and her heritage, and her history. I think it's a way we can apply it in a modern setting. In your home, is your home made up of the heritage from the father's side? Or is it mother and father equally? both being honored, both being preserved, both being encouraged. Do you realize that your wife is a product of her father and the home she came up in? And do you honor that and revere that and remember that and tell her, I am proud of the woman you are. I am proud of the heritage that you have and the home that you came up in. And now I have a new part of my family, and your family is my family, and we honor them in our home, and we will honor them to our children, and we'll let our children know that these are your grandparents and these are godly people, and this is the heritage they built into your mother and they have built into our family, and that's a good thing, and we celebrate that. You didn't think of it quite that way, did you? But that's a way of applying it here. That's what he's doing. He's making sure that the assets, which was the land, which meant a lot to them, wouldn't leave this family name, wouldn't leave this family, by redeeming all of it and purchasing it. But he also married Ruth and said, when we have children, this will be so this man who has died will have someone to carry on that family name, that he will be remembered, and he won't be just dead and forgotten. That precious woman that you married has a heritage. She has a family that she was raised in that made her largely the woman she is today. Now, that family may not have been perfect. There may have been some mistakes. That's okay, because there's mistakes in every family. But you still honor that. You honor her family, and you look to the good and not the bad. And you let her know that that's not forgotten. And you honor those parents, and if they're still living. And you see what I'm saying? This is what real men do. You say, wait a minute. Real men run from the mother-in-law and the father-in-law. Real men don't want nothing to do with that. That's the joke we make, isn't it? Oh my goodness, in-laws are terrible. That's not what it's supposed to be. We should cherish and love them and honor them. What are we saying? This morning we've learned what it means to be a man. A real man is not a player. Some of you say, what's that word mean? Well, if you watch much TV, you know what it means. Basically, it means a womanizer. A real man is not a player. That's the way they say it. He's a provider. A real man does not conquer, he commits. That's the difference. A real man is a man of character, honest and honorable. He is committed to be a leader and a lover. To do this takes courage. A courage that provides and protects the one he loves. Men in a world filled with pretenders, don't you think it's about time to show them the real thing? Let me read that again. Men in a world filled with pretenders, don't you think it's about time we showed them the real thing? And that's grandpas, uncles. I'm talking men. Whatever role God has given you, at the workplace, in your home, with your nieces and your nephews, your children, your grandchildren, whatever your situation may be, it applies to us all. There's enough pretenders out there. We need to see some real men. Don't you think it's time to show them the real thing? If we don't, who will? You know the answer to that question? Everybody will. But they won't show them the real thing. They'll show them the warped version. And boy, will that hurt. They're going to look somewhere for that model. Let them look to you. Remember, your sons and daughters are watching. The question is, what do they see? Ruth needed a real man, and your wife does too. God wanted a real man. And so do your children. So be one. Now is your chance. The altar is open. Real men are men of character. They're honest and honorable. Real men are committed to lead and to love. And real men have the courage to provide and protect. I don't know how this message has spoken to you. I just thought it was a powerful example of what a real man looks like. I think we have wonderful men in this church. So I'm not preaching this because I think our men, I commend our men. But I think because I know the quality of the men we have in our church, I know that they are always striving to be even better. That much I know. That's part of their honesty. And they're honest enough to say, Pastor, I'm not what I want to be. I'm not what I'm going to be. But thank God I'm not what I was. I'm a work in progress, and I'm willing to engage in that even this morning and take another step along that journey. And that's what this invitation's about. Maybe some of our men just need to come to the altar and say, God, help me be a real man. That my children and my church family and my co-workers will see something that will point to Christ. Or maybe you say, you know what, I've kind of failed in some of these areas. Maybe I just need to be honest enough this morning and have the courage enough to be honest this morning. To take somebody by the hand and take them to the altar and say, you know what, I've let you down in this area, but I want to commit today to pray with you and to commit in this area. Or maybe you're sitting here today and you're married to one of those real men. Or maybe your dad is one of those real men. And you just want to thank them. And you want to just take them by the hand and say, Dad, I want to go down and I want to pray for you. Or, honey, I want to take you down as your wife and I want to pray for you today to say, I appreciate that you're a real man. And I honor you today in that. I don't know how this is spoken to you. But I know we don't do enough of this. I know we don't do enough celebrating in our family and encouraging in our families. And making things right in our families and being honest in our families. Today is the day. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father,